guys, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. As always, I'm your host with the most, they call me Timothy, and this is another episode of Just a Podcast. But today we are doing an insight. What are insights? Definitely. People were asking me, why do you always do insights between episodes? I told them it's just an intermission, but I came to realize that I'm being too blunt, so I decided that I'm gonna do a better introduction. So an insight actually is like an intermission between a series of podcasts. Like if my aim was to do 10 podcasts and I've done only 5 podcasts, or I've done 3 podcasts, I need to put an intermission in between. The role of this intermission is just to drive away the monotony, because doing podcast after podcast, discussing serious topics or even unserious topics can get boring. And the human mind, the attention span is a little, and it's not to be biased, but I know even this might come off a little bit off, but I know the attention span of Kenyans is a little bit lower. So that's why I decided to come up with an insight to be put between different episodes. But on today's insight, I just want to drive you a little bit to what exactly I'm doing and why I'm doing these insights. If you're following me closely, you've seen that currently I'm doing executive education on public policy and governance. The essence of doing a public policy and governance course is to simply be more engaged on the policy formulation process and the policy implementation process. So in order to drive better decisions which are informed, we are driven by policies around the country, either policy papers or which are later adopted into the National Assembly and then later converted into bills, and if voted in, they become laws. So in simple terms, these policies, they're the ones which govern on wealth distribution, maybe land inheritance, business law, corporate law. Like when we talk about gender, we need to have gender policies that define equality and equity and inclusion. Like today specifically, we were being led by Dr. Maureen Cialo, and she's a bright human being. For that, she's a bright doctor actually. She was talking about when we talk about gender equity and equality, we are not specifically talking about gender equity in terms of giving equal access to men and women and the other genders of the alphabetical order. She said that gender equity or equality and inclusion, it's more than just giving equal opportunities to the present genders. It's more than that. Just giving them is not enough. You just have to give them equal opportunities which are meaningful, and they have a meaningful representation. The decisions that are made in our absence or in our presence that we know of, and more so that we don't know of. Yes. So in short, I'd love for you to make it a habit to be following this channel, because if you know me, if you've been close, or the fraternity, the community, the Just a Pod community, which includes you, we usually share opportunities whereby different people get to apply for different opportunities and they get impacted at the end of the day, and to change a life or two. I think it goes a long way rather than taking many people and changing them at once, because if you don't have resources, you can't change too many alive. So stay tuned on Just a Podcast, because we'll be doing this quite often, and I'm pretty sure you'll be impacted in one way or another. And once you get impacted, feel free to tell the other person and make this to become a ripple effect. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. We've engaged on different levels, but today I just want you to see the other side of who's behind the Just a Podcast and a personal life, because I know we have professional life and this is a bit of my personal life, but hey, cheer up, we've just begun. As always, I'm your host with the most, they call me Timothy, and this is me signing out.